Now we're really getting to the fun stuff. We're going to be talking about the neuroscience behind OCD, and I love to nerd out on this stuff. So it's not your fault that you have OCD, and the research is mixed, whether it's nature versus nurture. So here's what you need to know. Your brain is a threat detection system, and there is one key player in this whole scenario when it comes to your stress, anxiety, and all those icky feelings you give. You want to guess which part of the brain that is? It's the amygdala, and we'll get into how big it is, what happens, and how it gets set off in today's episode. Hi and welcome. I'm Erin Davis. I'm the host of Bossing Up Overcoming OCD. I'm an OCD therapist, wife, mom, and dog lover. So I totally get that OCD makes things feel urgent and like problems are imminent and that you must listen to these demands or else. So let's break it down and talk about what's actually happening in your brain. So the amygdala is in the center of the brain and it acts like an alarm system. And a lot of times clients and I were working on strategies to help them identify these false alarms. Because when your amygdala even detects danger, because that's what it's designed to do, it will set off your fight or flight response. And what that means is you're getting flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. With the amygdala, guess how big it is? It is the size of an almond. Yeah. So all these times when you nearly have an accident and you see a car swerving at you and then you get pumped with all this like adrenaline, you feel sweaty and your heart's racing and you're breathing heavy. Yeah, it's an almond-sized part of your brain that is fueling all of that. Here's the interesting part. People with anxiety and OCD, their amygdala is larger than those who don't have anxiety and OCD. But the incredible part, y'all, is that through treatment, the amygdala can get smaller. Like amazing. So when you are going through OCD episodes, your amygdala is very hyperactive. It's sounding an alarm for things that aren't actually dangerous. Like praying incorrectly, it feels like you've done something wrong or bad. And then with checking your partner's location, that feels like there's imminent threats there and like your partner is cheating. Or if you don't listen to the voice that tells you, hey, you need to go wash your hands again or else the devil is going to possess your soul. Like all of these examples are real things that I've heard from clients and I've seen their suffering. And I've helped them come out on the other side and get into remission, and they are living such a better life. And as like one client has told me, once you give in to the OCD, it's off to the races because that amygdala, y'all, is getting fired up and hyperactive. And when you're ready to learn more about the ins and outs of your OCD and how to get out of it, check out my private podcast. The link is in the show notes. It's a private podcast on Telegram. It's a really awesome tool and way to carry on with your day. Go for a walk and listen to the episodes, or while you're washing dishes. It's a great opportunity to hear how you can also come out on the other side of OCD and get released from its grips. All right, so here's another part that's interesting about the brain. Your front lines, if you will, of your threat detection system comes from your orbital frontal cortex, which is this front part of the brain behind your forehead, or we will call it the OFC for short. And so it acts as a filter and it's supposed to evaluate whether the alarm is real or false. And so this is where the communication happens within your brain, because that OFC front part of the brain is registering all of these thoughts, feelings, urges, and images as dangerous. And it isn't turning off the false alarms. So your amygdala keeps firing and screaming danger, and the front part of your brain, the OFC, isn't saying, you know what, we're fine guys, let's calm down, let's chill out. Like none of that is happening. Then there's another essential part of the brain that's at play with this whole cycle, and that's the basal ganglia. And with the basal ganglia, it's involved with habit formation and repetitive behaviors. So it's the part of the brain that automates actions so you don't have to think about them. It's just like those automatic responses. And so like when you're driving and it's kind of like you go on autopilot and you don't even realize how you went from A to B, especially so fast. That's part of your basal ganglia. And so folks with OCD, their basal ganglia gets stuck in a loop and it keeps sending the signal of do the thing, do the thing, do the thing. So not only do you have an overactive amygdala sounding false alarms, you've got the front part of your brain, the OFC, that's not filtering those alarms correctly. And all of this is happening so fast and so quickly below your conscious awareness. And this is why you can't just simply think your way out of OCD. Logic is not going to help you just snap out of it. You could even tell yourself, this is irrational, this is unreasonable, I don't need to do this. But everything about the way your body is feeling and reacting makes it seem like this is dangerous, you need to do the thing and you need to do it now. So the urge to do what OCD demands is overwhelming. And so here's what happens whenever you give in to the OCD. When you give in, the brain releases a neurotransmitter called GABA, and GABA is your brain's calming chemical. And that calming chemical reduces your anxiety. So therefore, whenever you go to check, repeat, or follow the rule, your anxiety goes down because GABA has now entered your system. And this creates such a learned response within your brain where it's like, oh, doing that thing made the danger go away. But as you know, what actually happened, there wasn't any danger. This was just perceived danger. And so your amygdala only thought there was actual danger. And so, all right, every time you follow OCD's rules, you're strengthening the neural pathway that says this behavior is necessary for safety. And the more you strengthen that pathway, the more automatic it becomes. And that basal ganglia is locked in to that as a habit. And that's also why OCD gets worse over time, because left untreated, those neural pathways are getting stronger, more intense, more automatic and louder. Yet here's the good news, y'all. The brain can learn at any time. It's this concept called neuroplasticity. Totally love it. And neuroplasticity means that your brain can change, meaning it can form new pathways and weaken old ones. I like to think about it like we're walking into the woods and we're going to create our own path. We're not going to go down those old paths anymore. And whenever you do that, it takes a while to tread a new pathway. But that's exactly what ERP, the exposure and response prevention, is designed to do. And with exposure response prevention with a trained professional, you can do it successfully. And you can sit with the anxiety, allow your anxiety to peak, and you sit with the discomfort until your anxiety comes down by half. And over time, your brain is getting habituated to that trigger, and you're also learning new ways to interact with false alarms. So after repeated exposures, your brain is getting recalibrated to where the false alarms get quieter, they're less frequent, and they're less intense. And you're starting to help that orbital frontal cortex learn how to filter things correctly. And that's why willpower alone won't work. That whole notion of you just got to be stronger or push through is really unhelpful advice, because there's so much retraining, reprocessing, and teaching that you need to give your brain that you can't just simply will it into existence on your own. You have to weaken the old neural pathways and build new ones. And that takes time. It takes repetition, takes practice, and most importantly, you need a trained professional to help you do that and to do it safely. So all in all, the reason that OCD is so intense, and when these thoughts, feelings, images, and urges come in and they feel like life or death, it's because your amygdala is hyperactive, your orbital frontal cortex isn't filtering correctly, and your basal ganglia is stuck in a loop. And the way to fix that is to retrain your brain through exposure. And in exposure work, you break the rules, you sit with the discomfort, and you let your brain learn that these are false alarms. Over time, those neural pathways change. And check out the private podcast where I've got 20 episodes that dive into more specifics about those changes. The urgency you feel, it's real. It feels real, but the threat is not. And ultimately, your brain can change. And if you're a military wife dealing with OCD, check out more resources in the show notes. And I'll see you here next time where we're going to talk more about religious OCD. And if you have any specific questions, DM me on Instagram at Erin Davis Coaching. Bye.